Sometimes it's tough talking about the difficult topics that we as men face. Not anymore. I am Oliver Green, and I am your host of Let's Talk Dirty. Let's go.
Have you ever been in a place where you just didn't feel like you belonged in the room? Here's my major news announcement. Disappointment hurts, and disappointment can control every aspect of your life. A lot of times when we're disappointed, we say that we want change, but we refuse to get past that moment that brought upon that hurt, that disappointment. And the person or the thing, usually the person that has disappointed us, we allow them to take total control over our next. We allow them to take total control of the things that we can control. And if you allow a thing or a person to take control of your life, 9 times out of 10, and this is just Oliver talking to you, when you allow another person to take control of your life, it gives them, or better yet, it takes away from the things that you are able to tangibly control. How many years has it been, months, days, has it been since you've been disappointed and you've allowed that person to hold that disappointment over you? We say we want to take control of our lives, but my question to you is, will you regain control of your life? Do you remember what your life was like when you were in total control? If you can remember what that felt like, you have every reason to do what is necessary to regain it. What I've learned is you can control your response to a situation. Especially when it's that disappointing situation. You can control how you respond. You can control your emotions to that disappointment. But here's what happens when you're out of control. When you are out of control, you make reckless decisions. Those reckless decisions influence your erratic behaviors. Those reckless decisions, pretty much you've become accustomed to how they make you feel. And 8 times out of 10, those feelings that you have from those erratic behaviors and those reckless decisions give you a false sense of who you think you are. If you don't know by now, I am Oliver Green. I am your host of Let's Talk Dirty here on Gospel Impact Radio. And I'll go ahead and jump right in. The Bible says we were created in God's image. Genesis 1:27. You may be asked, why did I start with that? A couple weeks ago, I was at a conference, and there were many men, women, and some young adults. Black, white, Asian, Spanish, many nationalities. There were many different people in the room and at the table. And you're asking, what's that have to do with anything? But what if my version in my mind of why I was created was jaded? What if the very thing God has created me for was turned into uncertainty? What if I felt devalued? What if I had low self-esteem? Then when I get in the room, when I walk through that door, I feel like I don't belong. I don't see myself as a valuable person God has created. I begin to wonder, why did he die for me? Because I don't feel that I'm important. Yes, who? Little old me? No, I don't feel that I'm important. I hope you get the point, but I also want you to understand that the pity party just doesn't sit right there. You can't let a person wallow in it for too long, because then it becomes part of their normal everyday demeanor, routine. I'll have a transparent moment with you. And I've shared it before, but there was a time where I didn't think that I was seen when I was in the room. I felt like that I was less than. I didn't feel that what it is I had to say was valuable. And I didn't think that I would ever be able to get up and speak to people about it. So there was a point in time where it was very hard to believe that greater is he that is in me whenever I walked into the room. In 1 John 4:4, it reads, "But you belong to God, my dear children. You have already won a victory over those people because the spirit who lives in you is greater than the spirit who lives in the world." But if I didn't think that what I was created for, why I was here, the very thing that God had purposed me to do and complete to glorify him, if I didn't think that that had anything to do with me, then 1 John 4:4, I believe nothing. I read that and like, that's not me. How many people know when you let the devil into your space, he doesn't tell you anything that you need to hear. He doesn't tell you that you've already won the victory. He doesn't tell you that you are more than enough or that you're enough. He tells you that you are less than. He tells you that your voice doesn't matter. He tells you that the things that you know to be true are nothing but a lie. He tells you that your voice isn't powerful and that the amount of value you felt that you had was false. So we oftentimes invite the wrong people to our conversations, to our tables, and into our personal space. Let me prove it. Have you ever said, when things don't seem to be going your way, you wanted them to go, and you've wondered, why am I here? Help me. How did I get to this point? Like, things aren't going right and you're like, why am I here? Why did I reach the valley of my life? Now, this can either spark a conversation with God or leave the door open for the devil, depending on where you are in your life and in that moment. When you were at that lowest point in your life, when you were in the valley and you wanted to call it quits, you had the plan, you had the motive, and you were just waiting for the right time. How about when the rent was past due? There was little to no food in the house. The electricity was off, or you knew that they were about to flip the switch from the office to cut it off. You lost your job. And now you have to go home if that's an option. And if going home wasn't an option, you have to go stay with a relative. You lost your job and now you have to go home and tell your spouse. You cheated. Conversations we don't have. You cheated, and then now there's a baby on the way as a result. Now, I've given you some of the worst experiences, but if we don't talk about these things, guess what? They continue to happen. Time in, time out, time and time again. And then they become taboo. And how many of you know the things that are taboo, we don't talk about? If you don't talk about a taboo, if you don't talk about a problem, a couple things happen. We think that the problem's okay. We think that people don't care. We think that we're the only person that goes through it. But if we don't talk about it, I'm here to tell you, you will have a very difficult time being healed from that thing. When you don't get healed and you cover it up, when you cover that wound up, it's nothing but a scab that forms. And there's a chance, because that scab will itch, that you'll pick at it. And if you pick at it before the scab is healed, you start that process over and over and over again. If the man in the mirror doesn't see him or herself as valuable, then walking into that conference room, and your conference room could be anything, but walking into that room can be detrimental. The definition of detrimental is harmful, tending to cause harm. It's detrimental because we aren't on the same level playing field. We see one thing and we'll act in one way, and we're not seeing it and acting and trusting that God is in total control and will guide us through. Or it's that we've had the trials of life, those valleys. Our friends, the ones who we call when we need a person to side with our nonsense, our emotions, those that we open and allow the devil to come up and set up shop and control the entire situation. All of those things are detrimental to our personal growth. And in that moment, because of that situation, because of that valley, because we aren't on a level playing field. Just that quick. We forget who God created. We get up and we look in the mirror and see the man or woman in the mirror. If you haven't figured out, today's show title is Man in the Mirror. When you get up every morning and look, regardless of what is going on, you see that man or woman in the mirror. And depending on where we are, like I was explaining earlier, you may not see what God has created you to be. Let me tell you this. We have to stop asking the open door questions when we aren't sure who we are and who is listening and waiting for the opportunity to come right in and hang out? Because it's here that we either make the right or wrong decision. And depending on where we are, that decision can be detrimental. Detrimental to our lives, detrimental to our families, detrimental to our kids, our profession, and any other role that you play. As we all know, even in those moments where we feel alone, God is waiting for us to reach out to have a conversation with Him. But I don't want you to think that the devil's not lurking to provide you with the most detrimental information response that will bring you to his team. We've all had those moments, even the strongest of us, where we feel like nobody hears us, nobody listens, and we are at our lowest moment because. And it's in those lowest moments, again, where we open the door for God or we open the door for the devil. So, New Year's comes and it goes, and, December 31st is here, and we make a New Year's resolution to lose weight. But in the weight losing process, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And that goes along with anything that we want to do. You can't say that you want to do the right thing, but you still hang out with the wrong people. You can't say you want to change how you think, but you still listen to the same things that have gotten you to the place that you are. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Why? Because in that instance, the two don't mix. When you decide that you want to transform from your past that you've been comfortable in, your past that is always waiting for you to come back and occupy the position in your life that it's occupied for so long, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And when you decide to transform, you have to be willing and you have to understand that it's going to be difficult. Every day is not going to be rosy. There are going to be days where you are tempted and tested. And you're going to have to dig deep down and trust your support system to get you through those moments. How many of you know when you're going through the transformation process, if you're trying to lose weight and you've never done it before, you need a coach. And when you have that coach, the coach is going to push you often. The coach is going to push you beyond points that you've ever been before. The coach is going to push you beyond to limits that you didn't feel that you could complete. So listen, coaches require you to do things that are outside of what your normal is. Coaches require you, they stretch you, to say the least. One of the things I want to talk about is how humans view value. We call it beauty differently. We've all heard the phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Remember how you chose your first girlfriend, boyfriend? You saw them from afar in class, walking down the street, but you saw them for what they had on, hair color, eye color, skin color, what their swagger was. And that determined how you responded to them. Now, this may be you, maybe not. I'm not sure if you said, oh, they stimulate my mind, I've got to go on a date with them. I doubt very seriously. And if if you are one of my listeners that have said that, I applaud you. Maybe, just maybe, if we took the time and looked at the inner person, we might view value differently. We might view the wanting our cake and eating it too slightly from a different perspective. Understanding you can have your cake, you can have the thing that you want, but you're going to have to do something to go a little bit deeper in order to get it, to make sure that you can do both. You want to lose weight, but you have a sweet tooth. It may mean that you need to exercise 10 minutes more so you're able to do both. Not to say one is better than the other, but a lot of times with how we view things, we want to have a girlfriend and then want to have another girlfriend, or we want to have two jobs and we disregard the first job that we have, and we don't put forth our best effort. I may not be giving the best example, but I want you to understand when we see things, that's how we value. And in order to move forward, we have to begin to dig deep and begin to get inside of what it is that we want, what it is that has been bothering us, the things that have been holding us back, so we are able to accurately figure out how to work through those things, how to get to a place where we see us as God sees us, and God sees us as his valuable vessel. Now, remember me saying, well, I take that back. When God made us, when God made each one of us, he's put something in us and he sprinkled his own, I like to call it the secret sauce, that makes us unique. And in Jeremiah 1:5, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. So God has sprinkled that secret sauce. It was in us before we were born. He has destined us for greatness. And each of us have something inside of us that is unique only to us. It allows us to be able to walk in that conference room and for people to see us for who we are. And those that have gotten to know us know what we bring to the table. That coach that I had mentioned, when you work with the coach long enough, the coach is able to tap in to what he knows that you're capable to do. But the only way that happens is when you spend time with a person. And when you spend time with a person, you get to know that person that you're spending time with. You get to know what makes them tick. You get to know their triggers. You get to know their goods and their bads. And that allows the thing, that purpose that God has put in us, for another person to be able to pull it out of us. That man or woman that we see in the mirror every day, depending on how life has whipped them into, done whatever, kind of forms how we play the cards that were dealt. But how we play the cards very well may not be the person God has created us to be. What I'm here to tell you is, because he's put it in us, and it was in us before we were born in our mother's womb, he's waiting for us to tap in to what he has already given us. You've heard me before in the beginning. I've mentioned that disappointment hurts, and it controls our lives if we let it. And if when we've been hurt, when we've been disappointed, we've carried that disappointment with us in every situation and apply it, even if it resembles a situation that we're currently going to go through. But that disappointment, that hurt that we carry, may not be 8 times out of 10, has nothing to do with the current situation. But it always takes us back to day one of when that action, when that person didn't meet our expectation or hurt us. When we allow that disappointment to manifest in us for years, we don't value the person that we are. We begin to second guess. We begin to have doubt. We begin to think that we're not good enough. We begin to doubt what it is that we know we do, and we know the thing that we do well. Disappointment unlocks the door to those open door questions. Disappointment unlocks the door to those open door questions. Let me tell you. You know, and you've heard it before. I hope you've heard it before. The man in the mirror is powerful, is fearfully and wonderfully made. The man in the mirror is more than a conqueror. The man in the mirror is greater than his or her mistakes. The man in the mirror is greater than his or her mistakes. For all my youth, young adults that may listen to this, come a little closer. Just for a minute. The mistakes that you've made growing up, the things that you've done that were unpleasing, and I don't care what it is, the beauty of it is you get to redo, you get a second chance. Every day your eyes open, you have breath in your body, and your feet hit the ground. So don't let the things that have stopped you from growing, the things that you think that are just, it makes you feel less than. Nope. I'm here to tell you. When you close your eyes and you open them the next day, you are capable of being great. For the single mother, you are not a mistake. Stay encouraged and understand that they see you. They see all that you do. And you do a very good job of hiding the struggle. But I want you to know, God sees and hears your silent cry and prayers.